Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the part of the lesson that has us looking at social media and questioning whether or not it is fueling hate today. Before we get started, please let me encourage you to open up to today's lesson, scroll down the correct section, and please get ready to answer the key concept questions as they coincide with the reading. Please remember that you can replay any part of this presentation for detailed clarity or repetition later. Let's get started. So is social media fueling hate in our democracy today? The recent mass shooting at a synagogue in Pittsburgh has brought public attention to hate speech on social media. It was the deadliest attack on Jews in American history. In October 2018, a gunman armed with an AR-15 style assault rifle and at least 3 handguns barged in on a Saturday morning prayer at Tree of Leaf Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and killed 11 members of the congregation and wounded 4 police officers and 2 others. As the nation mourned the tragedy, the hate that spawned it continued to swell on social media, with anti-Semitic videos and images surging on Instagram. Just 2 days later, a search for the word Jews revealed 11,696 posts with the hashtag Jews did 9/11, falsely claiming that Jews had orchestrated the September 11th terror attacks. Other hashtags on Instagram reference Nazi ideology. The Instagram posts demonstrate a stark reality. Social media sites have given people from all over the world a platform to make their voices heard, and that includes white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and other extremists, who are increasingly using the network as megaphones to spread disinformation and hate speech. Social media is emboldening people to cross the line and push the envelope on what they are willing to say to provoke and to incite, says Jonathan Albright of Columbia University's Tao Center of Digital Journalism. The problem is clearly expanding. Now, in the wake of Pittsburgh's shooting, many are now calling on social media companies to do more to regulate hate speech. Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, which owns Instagram, have already invested millions of dollars in trying to identify and remove such speech. But determining how to weed out hate speech and disinformation while also protecting free speech has been a challenge. Enabling extremists? Many experts say that social media is helping to fuel real violence. Anti-Semitic incidents are on the rise in the U.S., according to Anti-Defamation League, ADI. In 2017, the ADL reports that there were 1,986 anti-Semitic incidents, such as harassment, vandalism, and physical assaults. That's an increase of almost 60% from the year before, the largest jump in U.S. since ADL started keeping track in 1979. Hate crimes against other minority groups are also increasing. A recent report by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, found that hate crimes rose to 17% last year. Social media companies have created, allowed, and enabled extremists to move their message from margins to mainstream, says Jonathan A. Gredbott, chief executive of the ADL. In the past, they couldn't find audiences for their poison. Now, with a click or post or tweet, they can spread their ideas with a velocity we've never seen before. Indeed, recent incidents have shown how hate speech on social media can turn into physical violence in the real world. Robert Bowers, the suspect of the Pittsburgh synagogue massacre, had posted about his hatred of Jews on social media, and just days before the shooting, police arrested Caesar Sycock Jr., charging him with sending explosive devices to prominent Democrats, including Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Sycock appears to have been radicalized by partisan posts on Twitter and Facebook. Now, the effects of hate speech on social media have been evident globally. High-ranking members of the Myanmar military have used doctored messages on Facebook to foment anxiety about fear of the Muslim Rohingya minority group. And in India, false stories of WhatsApp about child kidnappings led mobs to murder more than a dozen people this year. Policing hate speech. In the U.S., the First Amendment to the Constitution prevents the government from punishing or censoring speech, even many forms that may be considered hate speech. But the First Amendment doesn't prevent private companies, including social media sites, from doing so. Facebook uses artificial intelligence, or AI, and about 20,000 employees to weed out hate speech, as well as fake news. But clamping down on hate speech has proven to be difficult. In the first 3 months of 2018, Facebook took down 2.5 million pieces of hate speech, but only 38% of them had been flagged by Facebook's AI. The majority of them had to be reported to the company by other users. A big problem social media companies face is defining what constitutes hate speech in the first place. Facebook has been criticized over the years by both conservatives and liberals who say it has discriminated against certain viewpoints. Now, many say that the rise in hate speech on social media is the result of a political atmosphere that's becoming increasingly hostile. Critics of President Trump point out that he often insults his opponents on Twitter and accuse him of provoking anger by making derogatory statements about immigrants and other minorities. The president, however, says he wants to heal America's political divide. Meanwhile, as mainstream social media companies crack down on hate speech, Many extremists are airing their views in darker corners of the web. For example, Bowers, the suspect of synagogue shooting, posted anti-Semitic conspiracy theories on Gab, a 2-year-old social network that bills itself as free speech alternative to other social media sites. Experts say that Gab has become a heaven for conspiracy theories or hate speech. Many experts say that more needs to be done to restrict hate speech on social media before it becomes a real-world consequence. There needs to be both better technology and better policy around issues related to hate speech, says Joan Donovan, who studies media for the Data and Society Research Institute, especially when it relates to the condemnation of marginalized groups. Let's take a quick look at the numbers here. By the numbers, hate speech on social media. 4.2 million is the number of anti-Semitic posts on Twitter in 2017. 72% is the percentage of Americans who think social media companies should remove hate speech. 8 million, number of videos removed from YouTube for inappropriate content during the first 3 months of 2018. And here are some tips and tricks to how to stop online hate. Consider the consequences before you post on social media. Ask yourself this question: are you sure? Consider how you'd feel about the post ending up causing harm online. Label the speech. If someone you know posts something offensive, let that person know that the language is hurtful or dangerous and explain why. That person might react defensively, but at least you made him or her think. Change the tone. Instead of fighting online with more hate, de-escalate by showing empathy, finding common ground, and responding with kindness. And report it. You can report hate speech on social media. Also tell an adult if a post makes you feel unsafe. So there you guys have it. That's the current situation of hate speech and social media and media regulation in America at this time. Only time will tell how our country, big tech, and of course regulations deal with this type of phenomenon taking place. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the lesson.